Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. We had a wild slate of matchups, including one game that is easily game of the year so far, featuring two superstars battling it out to be the best at their position, a duel that we should have been seeing for years so far, and I'm really happy has finally happened. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Let's go ahead and get right into it. As I mentioned, we're going to start off with what was easily the game of the year so far in Bucks versus Lakers. If you just looked at this game on paper, you wouldn't anticipate it would be a barn burner like it was. The Bucks have been one of the best teams in the league these past few seasons, led by Giannis Antetokounmpo, the best in the world, while also getting back Chris Middleton tonight. He made his return, and we'll talk a bit about his performance in a second. But then the Lakers have been, a little bit on a roll as of recently, but they're coming off a heartbreaking buzzer beater loss due to Andrew Nembhard and the Indiana Pacers. They've been winning more and more, but overall have been one of the bottom teams in the West so far. So you probably wouldn't have expected this high-level game. However, it was incredible. This one was back and forth with a ton of great performances. You had LeBron James dropping 28, 11, and 8 with 13 in the fourth quarter where he really took over. Russell Westbrook had 15, 7, and 11 in one of his best games since going to the bench, including not a single turnover. Chris Middleton, as I mentioned, returned and looked really solid, dropping 17, 7, and 2 in 27 minutes. It felt like he didn't miss a beat. Drew Holiday had 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists. He was really good, knocking down some super clutch shots all throughout the game for them. Lonnie Walker had 14 points, including some big moments. Guys like Brook Lopez had a monster block. Bobby Portis had some big threes. Patrick Beverley was actually scoring in the first quarter, which we haven't seen so far this season. It was just a lot of great moments all over the game. And in the fourth quarter in particular, no team had more than a 5-point lead for the entire 12 minutes. This one was close from beginning to end. And in the fourth quarter, it really felt like I was watching an NBA playoffs game or a finals matchup. The intensity was there. The crowd was going wild. The players on both sides were really into it. But despite all this, two players in particular really captured the entire matchup, and those guys were Giannis Antetokounmpo and Anthony Davis. If we flash back to the 2020 offseason, the Los Angeles Lakers were just coming off winning an NBA championship, led by LeBron James, but also Anthony Davis, who had suddenly made a claim to become one of the next best players in the league. A lot of people thought that it was like LeBron and then him right there in the conversation, and that he may one day become the face of the league, likely taking over the Lakers in the next couple seasons. Then in the Eastern Conference, you had Giannis Antetokounmpo, whose Bucks were dominant in the regular season but ended up falling to the Heat in the second round. However, Giannis had just won 2 back-to-back MVP awards. He was Defensive Player of the Year, and it was clear that he was also on a trajectory to be one of the top guys in the league. A lot of people looked at Giannis and AD as the next two guys who were going to battle for the title once LeBron James eventually ceded it. And that's what I was personally expecting too. It felt like these two guys were one point going to be 1A and 1B at the top of the league, both at the power forward position. Now, obviously, Giannis has held up his end of this hypothetical bargain. He won the title. He was finals MVP. He dropped 50 points in the elimination game. He's become the best player in the world, in my opinion, and the opinions of many. If Chris Middleton didn't get hurt last year, maybe he'd have a second title. Regardless, Giannis has become the best player in basketball, like many people thought he would be on a path to doing so. And he backed it up in this game, dropping 40 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists on 16 of 23 shooting. One of those players that is absolutely unstoppable when he gets in his zone. He was going up against a Lakers team that has had the best half-court defense for a lot of this season. It didn't matter. He was picking them apart one by one, no matter who they put on him, whether they put 3 guys in front of him, ran a zone, a man, didn't matter. Giannis was still getting to his spots, putting in the shots that he wanted to put in. Anthony Davis was on him for a majority of this game too, who has been phenomenal. He's been Defensive Player of the Year level good on that end, and it didn't matter. Giannis was still picking him apart and making basically whatever plays he wanted to, especially towards the second half. He really started to ramp things up. He had this crazy transition block on LeBron, very LeBron reminiscent, to be honest, which got the crowd very fired up. It felt like a playoff atmosphere. Giannis always plays his best when it comes to these high-intensity games, and this one was no different. Then we have Anthony Davis, who did not live up to the hype at all. Since that titles run, he's been injury-riddled and inconsistent even when he is on the court. He hasn't been able to knock down a jumper, hasn't been as aggressive, hasn't been the same defensively. It just hasn't looked like the same Anthony Davis that we got when they won the chip. I even made a video about it 2 weeks ago saying that if the Lakers wanted to be better, Anthony Davis was the one that had to take them there. They needed him to step up and become the superstar. It's almost like he watched watch that video because since then, he's been on an absolute tear, and in this game had probably his best performance of the entire season somehow, which is incredible with how good he's been. In this one, he dropped 44 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists on 18 of 27 shooting, including 3 blocks. He was attacking this defense relentlessly. He was aggressive from the get-go. He had 23 points in the first half, including a crazy fadeaway mid-range jumper almost right at the buzzer to give them a extended lead heading into halftime. He was amazing. It didn't matter if they had Giannis on him, who was one defensive player of the year. If they had Brook Lopez on him, who was my depoy pick about a week ago when I made my quarterly awards video, he's been incredible. The Bucks themselves have been the best defense in the league. It didn't matter. Anthony Davis right now has been playing on a complete another level. He's probably been the best player in basketball over these past couple weeks. He and the Lakers came into Milwaukee as massive underdogs and got a win over a team that many people picked to win the championship this season, while many saw the Lakers as missing the playoffs, me included. I didn't know if they were going to make the playoffs. I think I had them in the play-in tournament, but eventually losing. That's not going to be the case if AD continues to play like this. Him, LeBron, Westbrook, Lonnie Walker, other guys on that squad stepped up in a big way, but it was Anthony Davis in particular who really rallied. It felt like he looked at this matchup against Giannis and took it personally. He said, I can still be the best power forward in the league. I know he started at center tonight. He still kind of is a power forward, but he said, I can still be the best big man in the league, and took it right at him. And Giannis fought right back. This was one of the best individual duels I have seen in a very, very long time. It was so fun to watch. I found myself glued to the screen every single moment, which I wouldn't have expected coming into this game. It felt like it was probably going to be a blowout, most likely, with Chris Middleton coming back. You have Giannis, you've got Drew, you've got Brook Lopez. The Lakers have been turning it around, but have been overall really disappointing. But Anthony Davis decided otherwise. And this is what I've been wanting for years now. This is what we've all been waiting for. Anthony Davis and Giannis were supposed to be two of the faces of the league after that 2020 offseason. However, while Giannis has risen to the top, we haven't seen much from AD. With AD playing like this, he has regained the form that we saw in the 2020 playoffs that made so many people believe in him so heavily. Meanwhile, Giannis is over here as the best player in the world according to most people, and these two went head to head and Anthony Davis won. Now, I'm not saying Anthony Davis is making a case for best in the world because I don't think he is, but he's very slowly climbing up back that argument of being top 10, maybe even trying to push his way into top 5 if he continues to perform like he is. And that's all I wanted to see. That's what I've been waiting for. Giannis and Anthony Davis, two generational talents playing pretty similar positions, battling it out for the supremacy at the position. It's been something that I've really wanted to see, that I was so excited for as we left those 2020 finals, and we haven't really gotten it up until now. Now it feels like a legitimate thing where we came into this game and they went head to head in what should have been a battle for years now. I'm so excited for when they play again in February. I want to see this rematch basically tomorrow. It's a shame we've got to wait a few months, but in that one, I hope these two guys take it as personally as they did tonight, and we once again see an incredible duel. Shout to Giannis, has been incredible this season, and shout to Anthony Davis. I was wrong on him a couple weeks ago when I said that I wasn't sure if we were ever going to get the superstar form again. It took him less than like a day to prove me wrong, and now I'm finally admitting that I was wrong on that front. He's been one of the best players in the world this season. I hope he keeps this up, and if he does, the Lakers have a good chance of turning this season around. Meanwhile, while that game was going on, there was another game making case for game of the year as well, with Boston versus Miami, two teams that faced off pretty recently without Jimmy Butler in the fold, but in this one, Jimmy Butler came back and he was phenomenal, especially when he locked up Jason Tatum, who really struggled in this one. But Jaylen Brown came to play. He dropped 37 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 assists, including a 3 from basically half court to send this thing to overtime off glass. Who knows if he called bank, but either way, it still counts. However, in overtime, Jimmy G buckets came right back at him, making his presence known in this return, dropping 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 assists, including the eventual game-winning mid-range jumper, very reminiscent of a jumper that he hit at the end of regulation to force JB to have to hit that half-court 3 to send the game to overtime. Jimmy was just absolutely locked in, and they got great performances from other guys too. You had Bam Adebayo, who added 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. Kyle Lowry had 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 dimes. Tyler Hero had 26, 5, and 3. Basically, all they needed last game was someone like Jimmy Butler to help stop Jason Tatum, who's absolutely unstoppable. In this one, they had Jimmy Butler, and they come out on top. Shout to Jimmy G buckets. The Heat seem like they might be able to turn their season around the way things are going. Then we have Rockets versus Suns, another game that you would probably anticipate to be a blowout, but Houston comes out on top with a 1-point win. Jalen Green led the way with 30 points as the Rockets continue to find some sort of a rhythm. Now, Jalen Green did shoot just 8 for 24, but he also got to the free throw line 16 times, which is a big development for him as a scorer. All of the high-level scorers are able to get to the free throw line at a high rate, so if they're not scoring the ball from the field, they can still find ways to impact, bring their team some points that they desperately need. That's exactly what he did in this game, so shout to Jalen Green, continuing to develop and grow as a scorer. He's still inconsistent as he's only in his second year, but now he scored 28 or more points in 3 of his last 5 matchups, which is huge for a guy that you want to be your franchise player someday. You also have Jabari Smith Jr., who had 17 points and 6 rebounds. He has really seemed to find a form. Kevin Porter Jr. and Alperen Şengün had solid games. Big win for Houston. Like I said, they continue to get a couple of wins. I don't think it's going anywhere long term, but it's nice to see a bit of growth from this squad. For Phoenix, Devin Booker had his 3rd straight 40-plus point game, but he ended up missing the game winner at the end, albeit that doesn't really matter because if he's not playing, they're not even close to being in this game. Cameron Payne had 20 points and 12 dimes. Mikal Bridges had 22, 8, and 2. Ayton had just 8 points on 7 shot attempts. Once again, it goes back to what I said in my Suns video. We were seeing the aggressive DeAndre Ayton that we needed to see, and the Suns were much better because of it. In this game where DeAndre Ayton doesn't really shoot, we don't end up seeing the Suns get a win because they desperately needed him to help out. Just wasn't the case in this one. Hopefully he turns things around next game. Those were all the games I was really able to dive into a lot tonight. I've been very, very busy. And if you can probably hear it in my voice, I'm still somewhat sick. I feel like this is never going to go away, but I do want to give a shout to a couple of Atlanta Hawks real quick. DeJounte Murray had 34 points, 3 rebounds, and 8 assists in a win over Denver without his running mate in Trae Young. Big performance from him. AJ Griffin, too, had 24 points. He's been getting more and more opportunities in Atlanta. Someone who slid down draft boards a bit due to some injury concerns, but has made Atlanta look like geniuses for picking him up, and I really like his long-term offensive potential. He slots in greatly on this squad. I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and also comment down below letting me know what you thought of your favorite team's game tonight, especially if I didn't talk about them. Let me know what were some things that you took away from it, and I'll go ahead and engage with as many of y'all in the comments as I can. And also, what do you think about this Anthony Davis, Giannis situation? Do you think that AD could potentially become the best player in the world someday? Are the Lakers actually back? Was this just a fluke for them? Let me know all that in the comments. I will see y'all later. We're one say back.